which is why they both ran out into the road. At no point in the film did they even consider that the women were under some kind of mind control, which, when you look at the evidence presented by this film, is by far the most likely explanation in our view. So what then might be the point of such a documentary, which was very in your face, look at this? Miles Johnston, who has researched and interviewed victims of secret mind control programs, may have some of the answers. He believes, from people he has interviewed, that there are a range of very sinister projects being undertaken in secret underground facilities in the UK. One of the projects involves using organs from people who they have obtained. Another involves creating genetically engineered super beings, and he believes, without doubt, they are using psychotronics to program their subjects. If the military, or whoever runs these projects, wish to put out into the community their experiment, for whatever purpose, it is possible that people would start to suspect what is going on. The BBC documentary would give people plausible denial for any future mind-control subject which goes wrong or gets uncovered. So the BBC documentary could have been mind control in itself, ensuring that the public will not suspect that cases similar to this are in fact mind control victims. Oh, this is similar to those Swedish twins. The professor said that they were just mad. It was stated in the documentary that the two Swedish women were twins. I refer you to Sam Wright, who spoke at the beginning of this show about clones being used in the Vietnam War. Is it not perfectly plausible that these two women were genetically modified clones?
The Rich Planet Starship is sponsored by Geared4.com online bikes, clothing and accessories.
Welcome on board the Rich Planet Starship, broadcasting from somewhere high above the Earth. I'm Richard D. Hall. By popular demand, this week's guest returns to the Starship for a third appearance, sharing some of his research into secret mind control projects, with links to psychological operations and the control and programming of celebrities. So without further ado, let's activate the teleporter and get him beamed up onto the ship. Neil Sanders.
Hello. How are you,
Welcome
Richard?
back.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me back.
Okay. Now, we're here to talk about mind control again. I mean, we touched on it in the previous interview. Can you start, Neil? Because you've been gathering more sort of information about the subject since you were on.
Yeah.
And can you give us an overview? Because a lot of people, they have no idea what you mean by mind control.
Sure. Okay. I mean, what most people refer to when they're talking about mind control, that you'll hear the word MK Ultra spoken again and again and again. MK Ultra was essentially one of the American mind control projects. It started in 1953, Technical Service Division by Sidney Gottlieb. What they were really sort of initially involved with was trying to get sort of truth serums and things that they could extract information from, foreign spies for espionage purposes. But it grew on to be Manchurian candidates, controlled assassins, hypno-programming, which basically means that you can impart a large amount of information into somebody without them knowing, and then use that for espionage purposes. And then later it was sort of used, these people were used as literally mind-controlled slaves to be used perhaps in sexual purposes for blackmail techniques and stuff like that. And what mind control means is either an external or an internal control of the thoughts and processes of another person.
So when this was, because it stemmed from the Nazi research, didn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Mind control and
Yeah, well,
that's where the MK
comes from, mind and controlling us,
and
basically. So yeah,
some of the paperclip scientists that defected from Nazi Germany to the CIA took some of what they had found.
absolutely. I mean, a lot of it was, as we talked on the previous show, was based on sort of trauma bonding, which Josef Mengele was very, very interested in. And obviously, at places like Dachau and Auschwitz, they were testing people with mescaline and electroshock and sleep deprivation, isolation tanks, and things like this. And basically, the process of mind control works by shattering the mind to cause dissociation, so that essentially the brain is split into separate personalities, or alters, as they would be called. And often these compartments don't have knowledge of each other. They feel that they are the entire person. They may have an implanted background, or maybe not even think that. A lot of people sometimes basically find out that they've been part of these programs because they suddenly realise, I've got 10 years of my life missing, or something like that, or I cannot put myself in any place at this given time.
Now, some people would say, well, in a Western democracy, how can this possibly be going on? How can this be being sanctioned by our democratic, tax money?
Well,
into programming someone to be something that they inherently aren't. Surely this was an evil thing done by the Nazis, and when surely how would the American democratic system or the British system allow this to? How are they allowed to do it?
Well, first off, they don't care. This is the point. Your tax pounds, pence, dollars, they're being used right now to murder children in the Middle East. Okay, they just simply do not care. I mean, the thing
when you
is,
say they don't care, you're not talking about. Are you talking about David Cameron, or are you talking about Barack Obama? Simply, who doesn't care?
I think the powers that be. This is the thing that you find when you sort of look into the mind control, is it's not simply American or German or English. A lot of these things are intertwined, and so you get the impression that perhaps there's a cabal maybe above the concept of nation states. But I mean, even for example, the CIA, it knew that the activity that it was doing was illegal. In 1957, there was a memo sent to the Inspector General Lyman, and he basically said that precautions must be taken.
So if you read that for us, Neil. So this is as early as 1957.
Well, I mean, it started prior to this, but in 1957 they sent a memo that said precautions must be taken, not only to protect the operatives from exposure to enemy forces, but also to conceal these activities from the American public in general. The knowledge that the agency is engaged in unethical and illicit activities would have serious repercussions in political and diplomatic circles and would be detrimental to the accomplishment. What they're really bothered about is the accomplishment of the thing. They don't really care that it's being used against the will with unknowing experimentees and stuff like that. For example, in Creedmoor State Hospital, there was a children's ward of 450 patients aged from 4 to 15. And
this is in the United States? This
is in the United States. And basically what they were doing, they were using LSD training on these children. These are very, very, very young children. They're giving them LSD, psilocybin, UML, which is like a methylated...
Right. So is this... So how many people in the democratic government would know that this hospital is being used to experiment on children in America?
It's difficult to say, but many, many, many universities, hospitals and institutions were used for this. I mean, if you look at the people that were involved with it, George Estabrooks and Ewan Cameron and William Sargent, these are the very, very cream of the psychological world. Ewan Cameron was director of the board of World Psychology at one point. William Sargent is basically, head of Thomas Hospital London and Tavistock Institute programs like that. These are very, very eminent psychologists, scientists, and people like that are using it. At top level of the military, you've got Michael Aquino, John B. Alexander, and people like this, who are very, very, very well thought of within their circles, and they're aware of it.
All right, Neil. Well, what we've done, we've actually, or you've named some of the projects which are known about.
Yeah.
The sort of code names.
Yeah.
And, clearly there are probably projects that no one has ever known about. But I'll just list the names. We've got MK Ultra, which originated in the Nazi Germany. We've got Project Monarch, which we'll come on to. We've got Project Phoenix, Montauk, and then we've got the UK project, which is Project Mannequin, an alleged project.
And possibly Talent as well, which is another one that people have spoken about.
Okay, and you think that